Welcome to our viewers and listeners to the Plone Podcast. It's, I guess it's safe to reveal the year. It's 2022. And with me today is Sean Kelly, JPL, NASA.
That's right.
National Institutes of Health.
Yeah, all of the above. Yeah.
Oh, all of them. Right?
Yeah. Well, I can sort of explain that. Let me let you get the introductions out of the way, and I'll clear stuff up.
Well, I guess I really liked your Twitter bio.
Oh yeah, sure.
Now is it nut job for life? That seems to be the bio that sticks with you.
Yeah, because it's one of the few monikers that wasn't already taken. I got the moniker of being a nut job long ago, back when forums were, of course, all the rage, and because I was a little mentally unstable all the time. And when I signed up, I guess it was Alexander Lamy who convinced me to get a Twitter, and I didn't want to get on Twitter. I didn't really see what the appeal was, so I chose the most complex username possible. It was like HQNDC, XCDVB, LNCQD. And he was not impressed. And he said, "Would you please change that?" And I said, "Okay, fine." So I wanted to make it nut job because that's what I had been using on various bulletin boards all the time. And of course, that was already taken. But Alex Clark, of course, who's taken over he's like the de facto name behind the Pillow Project. He said that when A. Clark was taken, he just added for life. And I thought, okay, I'll try that, nut job for life. And it worked. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It is easier to remember than it sounded like I was going to say IRC, but shortwave. No, not shortwave.
Oh, Citizen Band, CB.
No. Ham.
Ham radio. Sure. Yeah. Well, ham radio used a lot of shortwave. Yeah. That could be my CQ card on next to my calling sign. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So just a little bit of a short story there to how I get to be nut job for life. Unfortunately, the term nut job is a little bit associated with like conspiracy theorists and that sort of thing. So I'm tempted to try to change it again. Of course, it's already stuck. I mean, it's GitHub, it's Twitter, it's my Crypho profile, I think. Oh no, there I actually got nut job without the for life. The score.
Crypho, yeah, that's Ger and
right.
Jorgis.
Yeah, Ger Beckholtz and Jorgis's secure messaging platform. Right, exactly.
I saw it still going very well.
I guess so. Yeah, there's like a Plone room on there, which is kind of fun to hang out in.
I did not know that.
Really? Oh yeah. Well, I'll send you an invite.
Okay. All right. Well, I saw you're on Keybase too.
Oh God, maybe you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You're right, man. I haven't been on Crypho in years. Keybase, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah. Well, as long as Crypho doesn't start selling, crypto coins, it's okay.
Yeah, don't.
You don't want to be in bad company.
Oh right, yeah, NFT bros. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw like recently Signal has started going down that path.
Oh, really? I mean, I at the risk of offending a lot of people who are into that, I don't personally see the appeal. I was just buying some rare numbers, I guess, in a way. But yeah. And it's not very good for the environment either. But then again,
that's what we're hearing.
If you're here to make some money off of it, go for it.
Well, apparently there's at least one member of the Plone community who's done decently well with that.
That he is, yeah. No. We won't repeat his name. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. No, he's a really nice guy too. I like him a lot.
Yes. Also kind of manic.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, you bet.
So Sean, I mean, you mentioned Alex Lamy, Alex Clark. You've been in Plone for quite a long time.
I guess so. Yeah. Back in the 2.0 was the very first version of Plone that I used. And 2.1 is the one that I first sort of deployed professionally. So just by way of quick explanation, I've came from a C++ environment, and the fact that it has to be compatible with C makes all of the object orientation use of it incredibly complex and filled with arcane symbols. When Java came out, one of my mentors really started giving a lot of plaudits to it. And I thought, oh, okay, let me explore that. I love the way that it did it did object-oriented programming so much more cleanly. But then it's a lot of typing. And I don't mean data typing. I mean physically tapping away on the keyboard. And if you're using an IDE, maybe that makes things simpler. But I believe you should not rely on an integrated development environment to be able to do your code. You need to be able to do it just using VI over a slow SSH connection someplace. Or not even VI, perhaps using ED. And I've used ED before over slow connections. So the fact that you have to do so much physical typing in Java was kind of a turnoff. Well, Python was a natural progression from that, which was really, really beautiful. And I find that I'm kind of sensitive to the visual presentation of logic. If it's done in a terse but open and elegant way, then it really helps with my understanding. And code is read much more than it is written. So finding a language in which you can express yourself in a way that's readable is certainly a boon. So I had some Python programming under my belt, but I was still pretty much a Java head, I think, for the most part. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory, one of the NASA centers, we had published this paper on managing science data, and it was there was a software component that went along with it. It was in Java. The purpose of this software was to make it unnecessary to re-architect a custom solution for every one of NASA's missions. Each time NASA would launch a satellite or a distant probe, there would be a custom software system to go along with it. And we came up with a generic way to do that. Well, this never caught on within NASA. People said, yeah, this is really great. And then they would just build their own stuff all over again anyway. But one of our papers got picked up by a guy at the Cancer Biomarkers Research Group at the National Cancer Institute. And he said, this is exactly what I need. And so strangely, we entered into this long partnership, and it's still on today, where NASA technology is developed, or our cancer detection technology is being developed by NASA at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, on top of that, they also had a website that they needed to publish. And it had to be a data-heavy website, loaded with not just scientific papers, but research protocols, specimen details, specimen reference sets, biomarkers, and things of that nature. And we turned to Plone to be the solution for that. Now, why did we choose Plone? Well, we used to have a project website which was done in PHP Nuke, and this thing got defaced over and over again. I mean, Nazi symbols, the coprophilia, lots of pornography, you name it, they would deface our website. We finally just gave up and got rid of the project website and just had some static HTML instead. That really soured me in particular, against anything that would be remotely PHP. The security record of Plone and of Zope, though, were impeccable, and to this day are just magnificent. It's really is bulletproof. I don't mean to swear there, but it's freaking bulletproof. And you can see why organizations like the FBI chose to use Plone for their public-facing website. Why science.nasa.gov chose to use Plone for their public-facing website. So we decided to go with Plone as well too. Now, within JPL, we had a Zope guy. Now, I've never heard of Zope before, but he really boosted Zope whenever he could. A guy by the name of Michael Ahern. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017. But that sort of opened the door for us. And one of my other coworkers gave a little demonstration of Plone and how you could just change things through the web, including like script Python objects, and do logic through the web. And I realized, okay, this could afford us a lot of flexibility, particularly because when we're working with another agency, so NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory with National Cancer Institute, National Institutes of Health, the communication of requirements between those to groups is kind of, we speak different languages. And so as a result, the fact that we could be really agile when responding to changes meant that Plone gave us a lot of leverage in that regard, particularly like when Plone FormGen came out. They were blown away by this. Now, I had no idea that like WordPress, for example, already has competing forms tools, which maybe even do more than that. But I loved it, and they loved it, and so everyone was happy. And that's sort of how we came to be with Plone, and have been since well before. I guess it was 2004 or so. When did 2.1 come out? About that time, I would say.
I'm trying to remember. Not recalling. Okay. 2006, I remember I started a project that was probably 2.0.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, if only we had a website we could consult to.
Yeah, God. Well, yes, I'm sure people who are watching and or listening to this podcast are probably banging away on their keyboards. God damn it, it's this time. Yeah. Anyway.
Just type your answer in the comments below here.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely read those later on. Wink. Anyway, yeah. So I've been really happy with Plone up until the last upgrade, where I really did pull out a lot of my hair, and so it hasn't all been roses. There have been a fair number of thorns as well too, and sadly, some of the big Plone installations have decided just to move on. Like science.nasa.gov went to Drupal for a while, and now they're going to WordPress, which I think is even more of a step down. CIA.gov is off of Plone now. FBI is still on. Last time I checked,
yep.
And even our project, sadly, will be moving away from Plone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, are you going to continue with the RDF, the description?
Yeah, resource description format. Yeah. So something that's kind of unique about this website for the Early Detection Research Network, that's the name of the project that we work on, is a lot of the information that gets populated into this public portal comes from other applications, which we've developed to output their knowledge in the RDF, or resource description format. And because of that, we're actually reusing a lot of the same code that we had for Plone in this new project. I may as well be honest with you, it's Wagtail based. That's able to ingest that same RDF and give us a little bit more. Again, I've said this word, a little bit more agility for all of Plone's robustness and features. And the fact that it served us so well, I think it was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It uses a NoSQL style database. So the ZOP database, no one had ever heard of that. Well, I guess they have, but it was still a twinkle in MongoDB's developers' eyes at that time. And yet here it was doing production level websites. Things like the Z catalog were also way ahead of its time. Lucene and Solar were just still ideas for the most part, theoretical. And now, of course, big websites are powered by these technologies. But ZOP was doing that 15 years ago, 20 years ago, which is, a really a big feather for its cap. Traversal is another big idea, which I think is only just now being adopted by other web application frameworks. The fact that the components in a URL map to objects and a containment and or inheritance hierarchy is a really cool idea. ZOP did that before anyone else did, or at least did it more effectively than anyone else did, and made production websites out of that, which is really nice. So, I'm going to miss the fact that ZOP and Plone did all these things. Now, I'm still using Plone. Maybe the Early Detection Research Network is moving on to another technology, but I have Plone still close to my heart, and it is being actively developed in a moonlighting project that I work on as well too. So it's not going away for me, at least not permanently.
So I'm curious because some of the work that we do at 6 Feet Up involves Wagtail, and Django is a big part of the work that we do. But
sure.
What specifically were you looking for that Wagtail provided that Plone wouldn't?
Oh, goodness. I think, well, here we're going to get into another one of my nits with Plone is that the people that I worked with were extremely frustrated by the fact that integrating third-party libraries, JavaScript libraries, as well as Python-based libraries into Plone meant you had to learn a lot of different technological stacks and different ways of doing things that were just so different than any other platform that's out there. For example, if you want to put in, say, one of your favorite JS front ends in like Wagtail, and you have a package.json file and npm, you can use all those tools directly. But Plone, you have to learn this other layer, like the resource registries framework, and so that's a little barrier that makes things harder to do. Things like Plotly Dash for statistical charting. Since we're dealing with a lot of scientific data, we want to be able to show data in graphic ways. Well, how do you integrate Plotly Dash into Plone? Well, you can do it. It's really hard though. Whereas if you're doing it with another platform, if you're doing it with Django, for example, it's just drop dead simple. Plone had some great ideas, like the fact that remember like Portal CSS and Portal JS.
Yeah.
Automatic ways of taking lots of different JavaScripts, compressing them, figuring out which ones could be combined, shortening that payload that gets delivered to the end user. All fantastic stuff. But that didn't really catch on, and it was just seen as that. Okay, well, I've climbed this rung. Now I know Z catalog, and now I know Zope page templates. Now I have to learn Portal CSS and Portal JS. Or before that, it was kinetic style sheets, which was remember that?
Well, kinetic style sheets is back in vogue. It's HTMX.
Oh my God.
Right?
I guess there's something else.
We've been laughing at 6 feet up. We've been laughing because we're hearing all these people talking about HTMX. Go, wait a minute, that's just KSS.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
This is the thing about Plone, right? Yeah. Like going back to when Zope had the date time with a capital D and the capital T, and then Python picked the idea up. And then when I first started looking at code, I was going like, why is this capital D and this one's lowercase, and why don't they do the same thing? Well, it's because Zope and Plone led the way.
Yeah, they definitely did, for sure. They were, like I said before, way ahead of their time. But then the fact that they also sort of really held on to some of these ways of doing things instead of just letting things be, sort of flow into the entire framework and the way of thinking of doing things. I think, at least from my point of view and from some of the point of view with the other people that I work with, just made it that much harder to approach. Things like for example, XDV, which then became Diazzo. Right. What a brilliant technology. I think it's just genius. It completely divorces the web designer from the content manager. You just have one person in the middle who has to do all the mapping. Why didn't this catch on? Isn't it
astounding? There are so many inventions in Plone and Zope.
Yeah,
I do want to respond though to your comment about Portal CSS, Portal JavaScript.
Sure.
That in Plone 5, obviously that changed to the new resource registry.
Yeah,
and now in Plone 6 Classic, there's been a move to incorporating Webpack. So some of those new technologies, are moving into Plone. It's just like the I guess they're discontinuous.
It's a little roundabout kind of way of getting there. Yeah. And I think maybe the people that I was working with just at the time that they did their sampling, if they just looked ahead and saw what was coming down the pike in Plone, they might have been a little bit more amenable to keeping it. Let me give you one other thing that's going on here though. Why didn't you call it, you specifically, why didn't the development core team call it Plone React? When we looked at what other technologies to use, Plone Volto didn't really make much sense to us because we didn't realize, it's a modern React-based front end that keeps the Plone secure, the Zope database backend. That would have been great, but it's just having to have a different word for all these different technologies within the single ecosystem is that much more mental detritus that you sort of have to track. And so we sort of glossed over it, to be honest.
Because I was also going to
Yeah,
I was also going to ask you about Volto. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I am keeping in mind at least all of these ideas for the other project that I work on. That's for a private concern, which I can't mention here. So
it doesn't have to do with cryptocurrency, right?
No. Oh God, no. Let me just say it's sort of moonlighting. So it's stuff that I already know how to do. And it's in a different field, and it's some people that I know who just like, why don't we take all of our knowledge, clear it with our various contracting companies that we work with? Can we go ahead and moonlight on some of this stuff? Take some of the open source technology that we developed, like for Apache, and once we got all the clearance, we sort of spun up our little overnight company.
Right.
But Plone is a core technology there, at least.
Excellent. Oh, excellent. You can stay on the call here.
Oh, geez. Wow. I was about to be kicked off.
This, can you feel the umbrella reaching out over to you and yanking you right off the screen? Oh, there goes Sean. And so next guest. No.
Well, that was quick. Let's get this guy out of here. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Okay. Yeah. Before we've got so much I'd love to ask you about, but sure. Let's go back to something that we started talking about just before I started the recording, which is Minecraft. We were talking about Minecraft and red blocks and all the crazy things you can do. And
you bet. My God.
Can you reveal what your schedule is related to Minecraft activities?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Yes. So for people listening to this or watching this now, the reason I could not record at the time that Kim originally proposed is that I have my Minecraft group meets Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays around 1 p.m. 8 p.m. Central European time to play Minecraft together, and we stream on Twitch and we have a YouTube channel. So please follow us and like and subscribe.
Wow, that's great.
No, it's just kind of silly. I mean, it's we played Minecraft together for about almost 10 years now, and wow. It really is a wonderful creative outlet. I like to build lots of redstone-based farms and automation, enslaving villagers, for example, a village breeder. I have a iron farm that just makes iron for me as much as I ever need. I've got, of course, my AFK fishing spot, which we use to get spell books. And man, I could go on and on. I guess what's really interesting, though, is how we integrate Plone into Minecraft. Now, here's the good part. No, we don't actually.
I was wondering where you're going with that. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, well, it might be nice to have a Plone add-on. I could I could foresee this though, because some of the Minecraft server technology out there does integrate with websites. You can see like your friends that are logged in at a particular time on a server, and get statistics about blocks that they've gotten, that sort of thing. And being able to publish that to a Plone-based website would be kind of cool. Real simple kind of stuff there. Just a little JSON data export and a routine ingest into your Zope database. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Presto, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making me bounce back to the Plone React name, because that was, I believe, the original name of the project.
Really? It was Plone React.
Got branded Volto. And I think that was partly to try to give people a sense that this is a new, exciting thing, and try to brand it as a modern thing, as opposed to, and over the years, Plone's been around. This has been 20 years now that Plone's been out there.
Sure.
And there's been, we hear about it because I've been on the marketing team. I'm still kind of attached to it, but you hear people at PyCon, for example, saying Plone, because they see people showing up. 6 Feet Up had tons of people, and other Plone people would show up at the t-shirts, and they go, Plone, wow, you're still around. And then I didn't know you were. And then some people would react saying, oop, react, that's a bad one, unintended. They would say, oh yeah, Plone, it's so old. Well, yeah, but we're still around because our code is still good and we're still building all these great websites. Yeah. So there was always that sort of feeling that there was a bit of a burden to talking about Plone. And so I think in part that was the reaction that spurred the naming. But Volto is nice now because people think it's a little bit more, it's got some novelty to it.
I see. Yeah. Well, I guess you're sort of facing, a skill and Charybdis situation there. You want to be able to slough off Plone for those people who find the name is like, oh, it's old technology. That reeks of old mainframes and tape drives. But Volto it's got energy and charge to it. But at the same time, for those people who love and trust Plone, and I certainly am one of those, to be able to say that, oh, what exactly is Volto? I was like, I don't know. But if I could call it Plone React, then I would say, oh, a modern React front end to go onto Plone. That's fantastic. Give me some more of that. That's a tough edge to try to straddle there.
Well, we'll do better.
No, you're fine. Yeah. As for what
we're going to come after you is what we're going to do. No.
Oh God, stop.
Oh, wait. Okay. So this is my mind is like firing on all 20 cylinders here. Sure. Very small cylinders, but you're on Central Standard Time?
Yeah. I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
My gosh, the accent give it away?
No accent.
Oh, good.
Does my accent give me away? Okay. Do you know where I am?
Well, you see, partner, down here in Texas, we got our hat. Whoops, that's the wrong hat.
Wrong hat.
You know what? I can't find my cowboy hat. Never mind.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I used to be in Pasadena, where Jet Propulsion Laboratory was, but my wife at the time, her funding ran out. She was also, that's the whole reason we went to Pasadena to work at JPL. She moved us here to Texas because she got offered a professorship at the University of Texas. And the people at JPL were thankfully just more than happy to have me continue working for them from home. And I have been a teleworker since 2001.
Wow.
Yeah. So COVID, awesome. I know in the notes here, you're asking, how are you dealing with COVID? Well, nothing's changed for me at all. I just continue, telephone conferences, and I have my food delivered. I think I was one of the very first Uber Eats customers in this area. Yeah, piece of cake. Yeah.
2001. I'm trying to think. How did you Google Hangouts wasn't around?
That's true. Yeah. All meetings were just conducted by telephone. I had to use my landline for the most part.
Now you're making me think back. We were talking about slow SSH connections to using ED, and like a real programmer uses CAT.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm remembering the acoustic coupler modems.
Oh my God!
With the switch. This drives me nuts, but I still think back to the one I got from McGill University. Okay, so our high school team won a competition, and the prize was computer time on the mainframe at McGill. Well, and they even supplied the acoustic coupler modem. I was like, wow.
Oh my God.
So I got this thing, and it had a switch on it that was either 110 or 300 bits per second. I go, why would you switch it down to 110? 300 is slow. 110 is terrible.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. In 1982 was when I used my first Unix system. I didn't know it was a Unix system, and I didn't even know what Unix was back then. But a friend who lived down the street, his father worked for Bell Labs, and he would bring home a Silent 700 thermal terminal. This is the kind of terminal, keyboard, roll of paper in the back, acoustic coupler behind that. And he would pick up the phone and dial, and it was probably a rotary dial, one of their Unix systems, plug it in. And it did have, I think it had two switches for baud rate, maybe 110 and 300, but also full versus half duplex.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. Remember that? He tried to teach us ROF for text formatting so that we could write our papers that were due. It wasn't TROF then. It was, or NROF. It was NROF. Yeah, just ROF. And he also tried to teach us Fortran, because that would be the applications language. Little did he know that C would have been so much better.
It's so much easier to crash systems with C too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was my first exposure to Unix. I then moved on to having like an Atari 800 at home, and then an Atari ST. And then I got to university, and they all had Sun Microsystems. And
which university?
It was a New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology.
Oh, wow.
And what was neat about this is that people all there were using Emacs as their text editor. Well, back on my Atari,
Yes,
I had micro Emacs. And this is just what came with this Mark Williams C compiler. And it had a Unix mini shell-like environment. And just being able to, as soon as I saw that Emacs status bar at the bottom of the screen, I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be easy. I'm going to fit right in. I've been a Unix, I like to say, I've been a Unix user since 1982, although really 1988 is when I had my first email address. And I love Unix to this day. Now, on my desktop, what do I have here? It's a Mac, which I like to say is the best desktop Unix you can get.
it's BSD.
I love, it's absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. When Sun moved back from Sun OS 4 to Solaris, and they changed from using 4.4 BSD to System 5, that was a dark day.
It was.
Yeah.
It felt like I was crippled.
You know what? I can't go on.
Are you having a moment?
Can we talk about something else? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I don't know what their decision was there. I guess for me, the big thing was the init scripts. Being able just to write stuff into rc.local made a lot of sense. I didn't want to have to learn all those System 5 init startup and kill scripts. I guess, now that mostly is automated these days just with package management tools. It's fine.
Yep, bygones, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, but that does answer one of your other questions. Mac or Linux? Yeah, it's
yeah. Oh, I'm glad you brought up Emacs because people still, I don't know why, but they tease me when I bring up Emacs.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Emacs is the way.
Yeah, let me real quickly say this. Yeah, I was hardcore Emacs user from I guess 1986 through 1993. My first job out of a university, though, was at a consulting company that did software development for the commodities market. And we had a boss there who was really suspicious of open source software. And as much as I wanted just to install Emacs, he was like, only if you can find me a commercial version of it, then maybe I'll consider it. And it was all on Xenix, so I didn't really search that far. But I did learn VI, because it was available on the system and it was not the recommended editor that his partner in the company had written, which was just, I don't know, there's something off about it. So I became quite the VI user. And then later on, Emacs would be what I would use when I wanted to do some serious software development. VI would be what I would use whenever I wanted some just quick and dirty edits, or if I were ever just SSH'd over like a slow connection.
Right.
Because you have to admit, Emacs tends to use a little bit more bandwidth than
a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I use a Sublime Text these days.
Oh yeah,
which is basically Emacs. Come on.
Well, yeah, except the bindings are kind of weird for me. I'm trying to remember the new.
Well,
binding.
Okay, cursor movement is the same, right? Here's why I think. Okay, I already know I have two sets of muscle memory, one for VI, one for Emacs, and then a third one for all other programs on the Mac, like Command S and Command C, copy, paste, undo, and that sort of thing. Just being able to have those along with the Emacs style cursor movement that's enough. I was able to reduce my mental burden after a while there.
Do you use the standard QWERTY layout?
Yeah. Okay. What, do you use like Dvorak or something?
I use Dvorak, yeah, because it gets even worse, right? Because some of the key. Wait, you can't yank me off this show. Okay.
Are you sure? I think I'm host, right?
It's like a bidirectional relation. So the keyboard bindings on a Mac. So I use primarily Macs now, and it's Command, C. But some apps like PyCharm have they actually go for where the C is bound to on the keyboard layout that you happen to be using, which means it's actually which one? It's Command I, because C is where the I is in the standard QWERTY layout, which is nuts. So I actually have to remember two places to go look for the command shortcuts.
Wow. That is wild. I have never actually met a person who uses the Dvorak keyboard layout.
Well, let's use the term loosely here. So the reason why I use Dvorak is because back around 93, I had a good friend. We'd worked at a couple of places, actually three jobs together by that point. And he and I both spent so much time typing that we started noticing, our wrists are kind of getting tired and sore, and we wanted to stave off anything related to like needing surgery or anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Repetitive stress injury. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
So we tried all sorts of stuff. Unfortunately, in university, I had an ergonomics course, so I was doing all these things to try to stave it off. But
yeah, cool.
Finally, I just got to the point where I said, let's look at keyboard layouts, and we both switched. It took us a couple of weeks to stop making typos every key press, but it made a big difference. And if you watch somebody type with the Dvorak layout, their hands move. I've seen people react like, your hand didn't move. Like, how'd you do that?
Oh, that is wild.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm half tempted. I actually made a little white lie there. You're not the first person that I know. I had a guru back when I was an undergraduate, and he was a teaching assistant in the computer science department at the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology by the name of John Shipman. He touched a lot of people's lives. They had a special memorial for him. He died of brain cancer a couple of years ago. Excuse me while I have a cat visit the the interview here. He also used Dvorak and swore by it, and it was quite an endorsement, because I believed everything he said. I don't want to say I was young and naive, but he was just say
maybe just naive.
Yeah, just naive. Yeah. No, he was particularly helpful in getting me to explore a lot of different technologies. He actually recommended Python to me after I had graduated, because he really appreciated the syntax as well too. He wrote, in fact, the first content management system for that university, just a homegrown text processing system, all in Python as well too, which sort of speaks to the caliber and quality of the language and of the guru himself. Yeah.
So if somebody who uses Dvorak tells you to buy Bitcoin, you're going to go for it?
I might. Yeah. Is that what you're going to do?
Well, Kim, now that you mention it. Okay. So let's go back to something you mentioned before, the Apache Software Foundation. How did you come to be a member of that?
Oh, right. Yeah. So that same software that I was mentioning that we had developed at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory to handle scientific data in a sort of a generic way that we wanted every NASA mission to start using, and they all ignored, but the National Cancer Institute started using it. That software was also NASA's very first foray into open source, a real complex arrangement. The software was developed at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, JPL is somewhat unique in that it is a NASA center, but it's also operated not by NASA, but by the California Institute of Technology. So Caltech lawyers got involved, government lawyers got involved. The fact that I was a contractor, not a civil servant, but I worked through a third-party contracting company. Their lawyers got involved, and it was developed with a group of like 5 or 6 people. And just the red tape itself took enormous gymnastics to try to get through. We chose the Apache incubator as the sort of like the smart way, or at least a good way, to experiment with our first foray into open source, because they have a good life cycle. They have a good mechanism for mentoring new projects who are trying to get going with open source. And it was, I'm really happy to say, NASA's very first open source project. So if you go to oodt.apache.org, you can see the website for this project. It's Object-Oriented Data Technology, oodt.apache.org. Now, the project, like all software projects, has sort of reached the end of its life cycle. We haven't released a new version of the software in some time. It's mostly just in live support now, long-term support. But when you are involved with Apache, every project has to have a vice president who is the VP of that project. And I was that VP for a while. So for a little bit, I could say, Sean Kelly, Vice President, Apache Software Foundation, Object-Oriented Data Technology.
That's awesome.
Yeah, except it really does kind of suck though, because you have to report every quarter on the statistics about your project, people who have come and gone, bugs you've closed, and that's no fun. I mean, there are ways to automate it, but the board meets every month and they do 1/4 of the projects each quarter. And so we made a tradition of rotating the chairperson, who will be the VP of ODT for the next quarter or so. And we've rotated that out since. And I am glad to have been done with it. But that was how I got involved and became a member of the Apache Software Foundation.
Wow. Well, the Plone Foundation is starting to become a bit of an umbrella itself, right? We've got, let me see. Well, sorry, I'm blanking. Deer in the headlights, Guillotina.
All right.
Okay, people are going to kill me after this because, okay, Kim, slap me now. Darn it. Okay, I'm totally blanking, but
Guillotina's
okay, you know what?
one.
Let's edit that out.
Okay, that's good.
I'm kidding. It won't get edited. We want all the most embarrassing Kim moments in here possible.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, speaking of editing, actually, I do have repair people here. We're working on the pool, and I just got a text from them saying that they need me to come out and look at something. Is it okay if we have a little pause at this point?
Sure.
Okay,
no problem.
Great. And this will help me get rid of the cat as well, too.
Oh, cat's entertaining to me.
Oh, really? Right. Okay, I'll be right back. Give me just a couple minutes here. They actually have a guy out there with a wetsuit and a scuba tank. And they wanted permission first because it's a little cost extra to dive into the pool and see if they can find out where the leak is there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Sexy Beast?
No, what's that?
Okay, it sounds bad. This is not really, I never made any claims that this podcast was PG rated, but Sexy Beast is a crime story. It's kind of a comedy, a dark comedy. Oh, it has Ben Kingsley in it.
Oh yeah, awesome.
And there's a lot of the story centers around people at a swimming pool, like retired criminals spending time at a retired.
Oh God, that sounds lovely.
So I recommend that movie, and you'll understand why I brought it up.
Okay, all right. Let me put that down on the to do here. Let me just make a quick note. Sexy Beast.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Cool.
Where's I going with this? Apache Software Foundation. Oh yeah, so you're a big fan of FreeBSD. Yeah,
you bet. Yeah. Oh my God. Man, a lot of memories there as well too. Back when running a Unix-like system on your own PC became all the rage, virtually everyone I knew went right to Linux. I went right to FreeBSD though. And again, that was just by the sheer luck that the university I went to had Sun Microsystems, which were all running Sun OS 3 and then Sun OS 4, which were all Berkeley Unix. Yeah.
So you picked FreeBSD because of that?
Yeah, well, FreeBSD, it had free in it, so that must be good. I think I don't think OpenBSD had done its split yet. There was just NetBSD and FreeBSD at this time. And there was, God, what was one? Man, I think it might have been the fact that CD-ROM.com was powered by FreeBSD, and they distributed FreeBSD, and that was a great website, as well as a company from which you could order CD-ROMs with lots of open source software. And they had just one of the, just a nice, memorable domain name, CD-ROM.com. That's probably why. By pure luck, though, after I mentioned I was worked at NASA, before that, I worked at a startup that did video servers for professionals, largely for editors and for people who ran cable companies. We did our video servers all in FreeBSD, and 2 of the FreeBSD core members were at that company. Now, that's not why I ran FreeBSD. In fact, when they hired me on, they saw that I listed FreeBSD as experience on the resume, and they were like, wait a second, you're that Sean Kelly. And I said, yeah. Oh, wait, you're that Justin Gibbs. And it suddenly dawned on me that, yeah, these were some of the core developers of like Justin Gibbs was one of the SCSI kernel driver developers. And there was another guy who was on the core team there whose name unfortunately escapes me. And if you're watching this now, my heartfelt apologies. But I had contributed to FreeBSD myself then on the documentation team. And I wrote like this huge chapter all on the line printer daemon, which no one uses now.
Oh, LPD. Wonderful.
Yeah, right. Everyone uses cups.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's all the kids, man.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like editing the LP cap file and all that.
Man, this is really taking me back. Wow.
Really? Oh, yeah. So when was your first Unix? What kind and when?
Well, let's see. I guess it was
Wisconsin.
Right. You can tell by my accent. No, I actually grew up in
there's a little bit
from
of cheese
Montreal.
right there. That's why.
the cheese head.
The cheese head.
I was introduced to Unix, in 1987 when I worked at CAE Electronics. There was a guy there who was a Unix fan. CAE did not run Unix. It ran these weird computers called Gould that had two processors in them because you wanted some kind of failover, parallel processing, basically.
Yeah.
But this guy, for some reason, had brought in a little mini cabinet-sized Unix machine, and he showed me how to work it and use it. And at the time, I just started working at a lab at the University of Waterloo that was doing pattern analysis and machine intelligence, and we had a whole bunch of Sun machines in there. So I kind of around the same time, 1987 is when I started using Unix.
Yeah. Oh, wild. Oh, God. Our histories are really similar then. For sure.
It's scary. Scarier for you, I think.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably have also noticed that I color my hair like lots of weird colors. And in fact, if I just stop my video for a sec here, you can see this image of me. It's got all that. That's because when my first gray hair came in, and I'm not saying that you should do this either, although, okay. when my first gray hair came in, it was not because of Plone. Or frustration with Z catalog or how ZZ text index works. It was just old age, and I decided I'm not going to use what my father used, which was Grecian formula. That stuff makes your hair look so weirdly black. It was just bizarre, and he would use it on his mustache as well too. I decided I would go fully psychedelic and started coloring my hair all sorts of weird, bizarre colors, and including the Plone color, which I wish I would have had available for you today.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So again, this turtleneck is probably a close enough approximation of the blue, but I'm sure people on the marketing team will again slap me. But this reminds me that when I was lucky enough to be at the Bucharest conference for Plone in 2015, and we were in the Intercontinental Hotel there. It was a wonderful facility, wonderful building venue.
I saw pictures.
Did you see the photo of, like, in the ballroom, there were these huge lights overhead that just happened to be arranged in a triangular fashion? And so I think I sent that photo, and then Chrissy superimposed the Plone logo on that.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a win. That was fantastic. Yeah, I love that. I wish I could have been to more Plone conferences. I've only been to one in person. And that was, I think it was 2006 in Seattle. Yeah, I don't
before my time, really. Well, no, I was doing Plone, but before I started going to 2008 was my first.
Yeah, there was, who was there? Joel Burton was there, I think. Alan Runyon and Alex Lamy, of course, were there. I could not get my contracting company to pay for a ticket there, though, because part of the way that the government works is that you're not allowed to get training because contractors are supposed to be seen as interchangeable. You can attend conferences if you're presenting, and I was presenting at this particular conference. I did my spaghetti versus sushi talk, which is compared PHP code, which is spaghetti, to Plone and Zope code, which is sushi, which is elegant and beautiful, not like all messed up like spaghetti is. But I could not get approval to attend this conference to present that because it wasn't specifically related to a work task that I was on. However, one of our colleagues was there, again, this is the cancer detection project. Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center was in Seattle, and we had been working closely with researchers there on this project. So the excuse for me to attend the Plone conference was to meet with our colleagues at Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center. While I was at this conference, though, this was the year of, or maybe it was the year after, I made that Better Web App Development video, which really took off. Lamy's up on the stage doing the keynote, and he's listing where Plone has been and where it's going. And here are the Plone rock stars. And he wanted to highlight some people that he had been working with closely, and one person who sort of came out of left field. And I had to leave to go to a meeting at Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center. And that's when he said, Sean Kelly, are you here? Raise your hand. You're one of the rock stars. And there was just no one. And I had to find out like a couple hours later when I got back that I had gotten this wonderful glowing shout out from one of the Plone founders, and it was gone. I just wasted it.
Oh, well. I guess you'll never live that one down.
Never. Yeah. Well, then again, where has Lamy been as far as Plone's concerned? He's off doing something else now.
We'll get back to that.
Really? Okay. You've got some.
No, well, actually,
I'd love to hear.
He was at the Boston conference in 2016. He came out and
Really?
he came out to the party, and we had a little ceremony to cut the cake for the 15th birthday for Plone, and so he was there. That was very nice.
Oh, God, nice. Oh, fantastic.
But you know, with COVID, we've struggled, right, to have the in-person conference, and so, well, hopefully later this year in October we'll be able to have it in Namur in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
It's not in the U.S., so it'd be a little easier in the U.S., but maybe we'll find a way to organize another one in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, part of the challenge for me is that, as you've seen from my biography on Twitter and on about.me and GitHub, I'm an agoraphobic gourmand. I suffer from some really severe panic disorder, and it's just gotten worse and worse over time. And I've been on medication for it, and it helps temporarily, and then it doesn't. I've tried other therapies like meditation, mindfulness therapy, and that helps for a time, and it doesn't. So again, like the fact that COVID has made being a telecommuter not really change anything for me. Not being able to attend conferences is also something that really hasn't changed for me, because I tend to get super panicky to go out. So in some ways, and this is not a unique experience for people who are sort of like shut-ins like I am, the fact that everyone is a shut-in has made us sort of feel elated with glee and joy. It's just like, aha, now we're not the only ones. You are all stuck at home, and isn't this great? And although it drives some people nuts, I think it's kind of liberating. So I really would love to present something at the next conference. And if like Omicron or whatever the next variant happens to be that sort of tears through Belgium is, maybe there'll be space to do a lightning talk or a virtual talk of some kind.
We've been talking about continuing at least a hybrid model, because we saw in 2020 and then last year how many more people were able to attend the conference just because before they couldn't travel, it was too expensive, it was too far. And this is another reason to be able to do it. It's much nicer for people to have a choice. Yeah. The choice is great. Yeah. And there is something about being able to be actually with people. And because, I mean, you may see me talk with my hands here, but communication is more than just my face and my voice and inflection and intonation, and also more than just the hand waving, but the whole body. And some physicians even hypothesize that pheromones come into it as well too, that you can sort of have a deeper connection when you're right up close next to someone. And so that's that's something that you miss when you're either stuck at home or teleconferencing or otherwise leading a virtual life. I love public speaking. I can get up in front of a room of people, and the energy and the vibe is great, but just getting there, that's what's terrifying to me. I haven't flown in years, and I can barely drive as it is. But if teleportation technology becomes a reality, and I could just step onto a disc
and appear at the Belgian Plone conference. Oh man, I do it in a snap. No doubt.
It would have to be a disc with 3, actually, we should go back to the original Star Trek shows and watch. Did they lay them out that way? I'll bet you it was a sign from the future that Plone was used on the Enterprise.
You're right. In fact, I'm going to digitally edit some of the original footage there and just put in the larger circles around the 3 dots.
McCoy.
Yeah. Maybe color them in a nice blue.
The uniform, the science uniform already. Something I wanted to make sure we touched on before we go is your amazing lightning talk at the 2020 Plone conference. My gosh, I rewatched that and I was going, that was like a roller coaster ride. You should have been an auctioneer. Have you been an auctioneer?
Oh my goodness, no, and I hadn't. But man, I'm tempted to now. Maybe I'll give that a try. If my moonlighting doesn't work out on my Plone project that I mentioned, maybe I could sell some stuff off there. Yeah,
that was an awesome lightning talk.
There's so much I wanted to say, and I guess it was God, who was it? Someone said it's strictly 5 minutes. You cannot go over that. We're on a schedule, and it's like, come on, just give me at least 6. It's 7. And no.
I think that was Erico. I think he was doing the lightning talks that day.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
But that's the whole cowbell thing. I mean, we don't pull people off stage with the umbrella handle, not in person. We just ring the cowbell. But what I was thinking, why don't you give that in a talk format so you have 20 or 30 minutes? Because sure. I would have loved to heard more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sort of did on a World Plone Day. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but I finally gave that lightning talk as a much more evenly paced, slower. People could take a breath now and then between slides and that sort of thing. But it became a World Plone Day talk.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
I don't think. There's other things that I would love to talk about with regard to Plone, and when this other project that I mentioned gets a little bit further along, I think there's some interesting developments there that I can talk about, and so that'll be something to look forward to.
Right. Well, I got nominated. Well, I got told by Erico that there's a new conference organizing team, and somehow
you got
voluntold. Yeah. So, yes, sir, Mr. Erico.
Yeah, you got to do it.
So, last thing I wanted to ask you about is The Expanse. I was looking at your Twitter feed, like, oh my gosh, you're killing me.
Expanse, right? Yeah. But I mean, it's rubbed off. I mean, Erico is now into Expanse, and what's her face from 6 Feet Up? Chrissy, yeah, she's into the Expanse now as well too, right? I think they are.
I don't know, but I'll ask her.
Yeah, I think she is. Yeah. Ask her, because I think it was Erica who was telling me that that he's not the only one now. That I think it was Chrissy. Maybe it was,
or Annette. Might have been the other person.
Maybe. No, God, now who was it? No, I think it was Chrissy. Yeah, I think they're both into it now. Here's why I love The Expanse. Okay, science fiction. Everyone loves science. Okay, every computer geek nerd, programmer, DevOps guy, woman, person, creature is into science fiction in some way. Now, The Expanse is different in that science itself is a character. And when the two authors, the two people who are behind the pseudonym James S.A. Corey, began to write The Expanse, they started off as it was originally going to be a computer role-playing game. They couldn't get funding for that or interest or something. They made it a tabletop role-playing game that was played just amongst friends. And then they started writing in the same universe that they had developed and emailing each other chapters. And that became later the first book to The Expanse, Leviathan Wakes, which I think is just a brilliant story. One of their principles is that science is real, except where it doesn't need to be. And where a show like Star Trek would say that well, we can't afford to show a scene where a shuttlecraft lands on the planet each time we want to do an on-planet scene. We'll just make transporters. Or a show like Star Wars, where we need to get from point A to point B very fast, so we're going to have hyperspace. Or a show like Battlestar Galactica, where if we need to get a message across and somehow the speed of light doesn't matter because we have subspace radio or something. And now I know Star Trek nerds, subspace is Star Trek, not Battlestar. I'm sorry. But where all of these other IPs and other universes see a obstacle presented by the laws of physics and just say magic, we'll work around it. We'll have some kind of magic transporter. We'll have magic subspace radio. We'll have magic ludicrous speed drive. The writers of The Expanse see an obstacle from the laws of physics and say, let's make our drama work within that. And they find the drama within the constraints. And that is just, I mean, they're not the first people to do it, but I think they've just done that really incredibly well. And so in many ways, it's a very human story. And I have to say, the day that they followed me on Twitter was one of the best days of my life, because the scene where Naomi leaps across without an environment suit, without a vac suit, from one ship to another. And people I saw, because I like to live tweet along when the shows are showing, people saying, why didn't she freeze to death? And I had to explain that, okay, what is temperature? Why don't you freeze to death instantly? Because you see all these other science fiction shows where as soon as you stick your hand out in the vacuum of space, it turns to ice. No, that doesn't happen. Anyway, the authors of The Expanse liked my explanation, and I got a follow on Twitter after that, which was really nice. They said, this is a good explanation. I retweeted it and followed. That's not the only reason I like The Expanse. I would still like it even though they didn't follow me, but now I have even more reason to do so. And if Erico and Chrissy are fans as well too, then so much the better. I hope, Kim, you give it some time as well. Read the books, watch the show, Amazon Prime Video, not sponsored. You can bleep that out if you need to.
You don't even need to be an auctioneer. You're already doing the sales pitch.
That's hilarious.
That's great. Thank you very much, Sean. It's been a blast. I'm really so happy I got a chance to get to know you and find out more of your stories. And I hope we're going to be able to keep doing it.
I hope so as well, too. Kim, thank you so much for having me. It's been a privilege and an honor to speak with you. And if no one watches this, that's fine, too. I had a good time just chatting.